Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ari, and today we're going to have some more stories about our toxic life. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to my channel, like the video, if you enjoy it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now without further ado, let's go. Today's first story. In this story, OP describes a complex and emotional situation involving their ex-partner, their son, and an affair. He initially tries to reconcile with their ex but discovers evidence of continued infidelity. They eventually file for divorce, continue to be involved in their son's life, and have a heartfelt conversation with their son. This story ends with reflecting on their ongoing emotional pain and receiving advice from their father about moving on. Now let's get into the story. Her dad was angry and sad for me since we had come to love and respect each other. She was texting me about how she hated herself and that she couldn't believe she did all of this. All the while she was still talking to the affair partner. She even went to ask if we could get back together, and I told her that she knew what she had to do if she wanted me back. I picked up my son from practice during that week and brought him home. He wanted to show me something and I agreed because I love him. We hung out for an hour in his room. I came out to the living room and she was a wreck. She asked me to sit down with her and she got close to me and wrapped her arms around me. I almost gave in, and so I stood up and I said that I wasn't going to do this if she was still talking or having anything to do with this guy. She said she ended it. So I sat down and I held her. We even kissed a little and I touched her. But then the phone rang a different ring and I could tell she was panicking inside. She said he had been calling all day since she ended it. I looked her in the eyes and asked her to show me that she ended it. She started crying and refused. I told her again if she wanted me she knew what she had to do. Throughout the week I was still coming back to take my son to school and even making meals to put into the fridge for him. She wasn't doing laundry and I had to force myself not to do it for her. But I noticed that my son's sheets were filthy and that he stank from not showering. I had to scold her because she wasn't taking care of him. That weekend her friends wanted to take her to the Renaissance Fair and I was floored by how she was playing all good. She asked if I could be there for our son just for a couple of hours. I said yes because I wanted time with him, but even I knew that I wasn't really ready for that. I agreed anyway. I showed up after work to pick him up from his friend's house and 4 other boys walked out and jumped in my car. Apparently, it was a sleepover. I was furious. Not at him, but at her. I called her and she answered and realized that I was going to leave if she didn't get back. It took 3 hours for her to get back and she was acting all pissy about it. She had the gall to say that she shouldn't have to feel bad about celebrating her birthday with her friends, and I told her that she should feel bad because of all the shit that was going on and that she had taken advantage and this was never going to happen again. She cried and said, "What? Am I only supposed to be a mother?" I didn't even say anything to that, but yes, had chosen this before I even came into the picture. We talked a little more and she even invited me to stay to sleep in the same bed and be together. I said no and I left. My son seemed sad. I kept going to and from, even though it was draining me emotionally and draining my bank account because I was staying 45 minutes away. Her parents only knew what I had told them because she had been dodging them too. It was the week of the October 25th, my ex's birthday week, and it had been weird and I was shamefully doing the pick-me dance. It was Monday and I was sending sweet video messages and she was being nonchalant about it all. I went in the morning to take care of our son and take him to school, and then I did what I did on her birthday week. I started with a small gift and began working my way up. I dusted off a photo of us 3 in a pumpkin patch when we first got together. It was a beautiful picture. I was about to leave when I got this itch inside of me. I don't know what the hell provoked me, but I started snooping. I found a new shoebox, opened it, and there was a new vibrator, new dildo, and new butt plugs. I threw all of our toys out when I left. She even kept the packaging. And the postmarks were dated the following day that I had left. And they even had a gift message with the prick's name. And then I noticed a letter inside this shoebox, and it was from a woman, but with the same last name of the affair partner's other gift message. I opened it and saw a photo of a family. 2 little boys, an infant, a dog, and a man and a woman. Along with it was a letter telling my ex that she had ruined her marriage, that she could keep the affair partner, and that she had found out because of the toys he had sent her. I took photos and went straight to her parents and explained what I had found out. Her dad gave me the same advice that you all gave me: had a lawyer get all my ducks in a row and then file. I did that very day. I gave her the paperwork when it arrived a few days later, and for months we sat on it. Soccer games, a few intimate nights. I wouldn't dare have 6 with her though it was there. Eventually, it came to one soccer game where she saw I wasn't exactly my best, and I prodded until she told me whether she was dating, and she said she was. I turned in all the paperwork that week. Update: yesterday I had a long-awaited talk with my son. I hadn't heard anything substantial from him since his last birthday, and it's been killing me. But again, I already know how teens operate, and I'm sure dealing with his mom's annoying boyfriend, along with middle school ending and going into high school, has got to be a lot for him to deal with. Honestly, I was so excited that he had finally picked up the phone and we had a pleasant conversation. It took a second of telling him what I was up to all this time: building a house, our corgi getting older, and as always, our love for video games brought him out of his shell. He's high-ranking in Rocket League and has been invited to a tournament with pros that is going to be streamed on Twitch. And I'm so excited for him. He said he'll send me the link and that we should keep talking. I take it as a small victory that he still thinks of me as dad, and I'm honored and filled with joy to hear such things from his now entirely changed voice. It was hours after the afterglow of speaking with him that my heart started feeling it again. It was more of a dull pain, just aching deep to the core of me. It ached and irritated me to the point where I hardly slept. Last night, my father noticed my demeanor and asked what was bothering me, and at first I couldn't really put it into words, but the second time he asked, it just poured out of me. Though I feel sheer happiness that I have my son still there, and I can be a part of his life in whatever fashion he wants, the weight and pain is still there enough to make my mind still want to know why. I know that the reason really doesn't matter at this point, nor would it really bring me any solace. Everything is done and finished with, but I suppose even 2 years down the road, it's still raw and aching. My feelings of love and adoration, let alone pride in being my son's dad, as well as how proud I am of him, are so tied into the love I also had for my ex, which now only serves as a painful reminder each time I interact with him. My father, a cheater in his own time, but made his amends and continues to do so to this day, told me this. Though I can't say that I know what you're feeling come from this side of your situation. You may need to ask yourself if the pain of all this and sorrow that follows is worth it for your mental health and general well-being to go on this way. I know that you love him with all your being and that there is great joy in the time you share. But it's all followed by a day or two of recovery for you. I'm not telling you to quit on him, because if it were me trying to be there for you, I'd never give up. But maybe you need to let go of it all. You gave all of yourself, and I haven't seen you happy like you are now in a long time. But I can see the toll that it takes on you with your feelings, spidered, as they are in both your love for your son and the pain you clearly still feel from how you were betrayed. But I can see the toll that it takes on you with your feelings, spidered, as they are in both your love for your son and the pain you clearly still feel from how you were betrayed. I know that he is operating as a father who is watching his son struggle, and seeing visible pain on my face is the last thing he would ever want. Knowing the lengths of his military training that taught him to be able to distance and look at as many perspectives as possible, I'm taking it as something like him trying to give me sound advice. I'm certain he doesn't mean to simply drop and disappear from my son's life, but maybe just to remain outside of it all. Maybe he just wants to save me from the pain that still infects my heart. Just airing out my thought, I suppose. My best wishes to those hurting right now. Stay strong and keep positive for those who are healing. Today's second story. In this story, OP met their soon-to-be ex-wife, who had a troubled past with an abusive ex-boyfriend. They got married, and she financially supported her, even helping her with a large student loan debt. However, they discovered their wife was in touch with her abusive ex and suspected she cheated on them. They confronted her, and she admitted to cheating and said she wasn't sexually attracted to him anymore. Now let's get into the story. A little backstory first. When I first met my soon-to-be ex-wife, she had mentioned her ex multiple times. The first date we ever went on had a moment where she got a call from him and he was demanding that she pay her half the phone bill or he cut her off. She always told me stories about how he treated her. He was a severe alcoholic who barely kept a job and would beat her regularly. One time, he burnt her with the cigarettes, which left marks. Fast forward. We got married, and I still remember how good it felt holding her hand and putting that ring on her finger. I did everything for her. She couldn't drive, so I would always pick her up from work. And on the days I was off, I would take her to work as well. She often asked me to give her money for weed, which I did, as well as for cigarettes. On the day we got married, I took her off his phone plan and put her on mine. I paid for everything, including gas, rent, Wi-Fi, and the phone bill. I even drove her from Virginia to New York so that she could see her family. I was doing my best to get her to become a responsible person and get her back on track. She thought she had $2,000 in student loans, but later on, we both found out that because she had put them off for so long, it turned into $22,000. I told her that when the time came, I would help her with that. A few days before her birthday in December, I noticed she was trying to hide a texting app from me. She then texted me and asked me to take her to the ER where she was diagnosed with the flu. That night, while she was in a drug-induced sleep, I took her phone and looked through it, then saw a text to her ex things about how much she missed him and that they wanted to up again. I went into a rage, and for the first time in our entire relationship, I raised my voice at her. The morning after, before I went to work, she promised that it didn't mean anything, then apologized for hiding it and swore she was done with him once and for all. I was stupid to believe that, but we reconciled and went on. A few days later, I was still feeling bad for doubting her and drove her around to get things done before her birthday, such as paying for her nails and hair. I checked my bank app and noticed that on her account she had 2 Uber charges as well as a charge at a 7-Eleven near her ex's place. I asked her what they were for and she immediately got defensive. She mentioned how they were for a friend of hers that she helped get home. I was again stupid to believe her, but a little more wary and asked her to look me in the eyes and promised me that she hadn't gone over to his place. She swore that she didn't. I asked her later that day if she could show me her Uber history, and she got even more defensive, accusing me of being paranoid, just like her ex was. I then looked into it and discovered from her Uber history that she in fact did go over to his place. I confronted her with the knowledge I had of what she did, but was being as calm as I could. She instead went into a fit of rage and demanded to know why I went into her history and that she wanted a divorce. We ended up not talking at all for a week or so, and eventually, she swore to me that nothing happened when she went over to his place. Between then and last week, everything was fine between us, although I had noticed that she was friends with him on Facebook for a brief period. However, I remember that one day when I asked to look at her blocked list when I had parked my car. She got out of the car, then went behind the car, and then came back in. I can't believe that she thought I was stupid enough to fall for that. After that incident happened, I enabled parental controls on my phone account and added a tracker so that I could see where she was every day. She didn't know about it because she was always making comments about how she didn't like anyone tracking her location, just like her ex used to do. After I got off from a 24-hour shift between Friday and Saturday, I texted her asking what was up and went home. She wasn't responding to any of my texts, so I checked the tracker and noticed that she was at her ex's place. I immediately jumped out of my bed and frantically found my clothes to head over there and bait her into coming out. She said she went out the night previously with a friend and was staying over at her friend's place. I was leaning against a tree outside his apartment and then called her telling her she needs to come home now so I can spend the day with her to make up for working 24 hours on Valentine's Day. The first thing that happened was that I yelled staying over at a friend's place and she screamed knowing that she had been caught. She asked me for a ride home, swearing that nothing happened and that she just wanted to see him. I told her I wanted the keys to her apartment and her ring immediately. She had until Thursday to give me back her phone that I had paid for. Later on, she finally admitted that things did happen when she went to his place. She told me she cheated on me because she wasn't sexually attracted to me anymore, and mentioned how he does things to her body that she can't even explain. She then had the nerve to make a comment about how she liked that I cared for her and held her hand all the time. Her ex also later sent me a message on Facebook that said, "LOL. That was it. Our lives are pretty much almost entirely separate now." She never lived with me, so she's either staying with the ex or the place she was always at. I have the phone back, and I'm working on removing myself from bank account. I can track her spending still, and even though she got paid $600, she's already overdrawn the money, mostly on Uber rides to go to work and probably on weed. I just don't know how to feel about this anymore. I was going to be the person to save her from herself. I did everything I could for her. I always tried to get her to be a better person and never raised my voice. She always told me I was a better person than her ex was. I don't have any feelings for her anymore, and if she ever asks to come back, I will definitely say no. All I want is that 3 a.m. call where she's drunk and begging me to let her come back after realizing she's messed up her life.